Seven Filipino habits that are actually trauma responses. You know how when we often say, ganito na talaga ako, I'm hardworking, self-sacrificing, always saying yes. And this means this is just how I am. I'm hardworking, self-sacrificing, and always saying yes. Here's the truth. A lot of the habits that we see as normal Filipino traits are actually or can actually be inner child trauma responses. So, real talk, some of these habits even come from our ancestors. Back in Austronesian life, on the Balangay boats, traits like sacrifice and harmony, they kept the community alive. But today, in a different world, some of those habits can turn into exhaustion, burnout, and silence. And before you cancel me, I want to make it clear that the goal isn't to throw away our beautiful values. It's really to find that balance, to honor ancestral wisdom while healing parts of us that were wounded. Stay with me until the end because I wanted to share with you my own story of being the ate ng bayan, the big sister of the family who carried everyone's pain, and how I finally learned that real love includes me in the Kapwa circle. It includes reciprocity. Magandang umaga, hapon or gabi po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Dr. Nette, a Filipino-American clinical psychologist dedicated to helping Filipinos worldwide heal generational trauma through inner child healing, ancestral wisdom, and Kapwa psychology. I was born and raised in the Philippines and I immigrated here in the States as a young adult and later pursued grad studies in San Francisco. And as a first gen immigrant, I bring both personal and professional insight into the healing journey. Having grown up with anxiety and trauma, I deeply understand what it means to face mental health challenges without support or resources. And all of my lived experiences inspire me to create this channel, the Brown Psych, a space that makes healing accessible while honoring culture, heritage, and community. Habit number one is overworking and hustling nonstop. So if you've ever felt guilty, because this is also me, when you are not doing anything, like, I felt like I was wasting my time or I was being lazy. And I get it now that that's not laziness. That is my inner child panicking because growing up, a lot of us, you have felt only loved when we were productive, right? And going back into the Balangay boats, sipag, which means diligence, was survival. Everyone worked hard because the community depended on it. But they also knew how to rest through rituals, dancing, and poetry. And rest was survival too. And so, if you're going to ask me, then what do I do? One of the things is like before work, you can tell yourself, I love that I am a sipag, which means I'm diligent, but today I'm going to respect my limits. And hopefully, you are doing that on a regular basis now, too, as you continue to heal your inner child. And at night, instead of checking one more email, you can also text a friend saying, hey, I'm done with work. Chika naman tayo. Let's chat before I go to bed. And this can teach your inner child that rest is also safe. And if you're thinking, pero doc, sipag at tiyaga is who we are. Sipag means diligent again, and then tiyaga means kind of like that sacrifice, patience. Ano pa ba yung ibig sabihin ng tiyaga? Like to kind of like endure and just like keep on going, right? Like if people are saying that that's who we are, that is true. But kapwa also means caring for ourselves so we can give sustainably. And hustling without rest, don't you think that that also dishonors the kapwa because it drains it? And habit number two is always saying yes, even when you mean no. So if I were to ask you, how many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no? You probably will say a lot of times. And that's, my friend, is people pleasing, which is born from our childhood fear of being disrespectful. Again, in the barangay, saying yes kept harmony, but harmony wasn't blind obedience. It came from rituals, storytelling, collective decision making, and everyone's voice mattered. And so, if you were to ask me, then what do I do? Maybe a practical tip is like next time someone asks for a favor, try, alam kong mahalaga to. I know this is important and I'd love to help you, but I also need to recharge tonight. Let's reconnect tomorrow. So that thing, like if you're worried that you're being selfish, remember, kapwa is about also centering ourselves in that circle. And kapwa isn't about erasing yourself. It's really about that balance. Saying no with lambing is actually the most kapwa thing that you can do. And lambing, if you're asking me, what does that mean? Lambing is just like saying it like in a very kind of like warm tone of voice. So, if you need more scripts like this, by the way, you can download my free guide called Navigating Boundaries, a Filipino inner child's companion to healing guilt. The link is going to be in the description. So, habit number 3. Are you ready? Numbing with food, shopping, or scrolling. Raise your hand if you have ever gone on a midnight shopping binge online or endless TikTok scroll. Sometimes that's not boredom, it could also be that your inner child is craving for comfort. So then what do you do? Well, instead of scrolling, you can text a friend or a barkada, say, "Girl, I am drained. I need a like a break." Like do you have a joke or something? Or like let's call and kind of like make each other laugh. And that moment of connection heals more than add to cart. And no, it's not pampering. Self-care honors you. Numbing, it avoids you. And Kapwa reminds us that real comfort is in our connection. All right, let's go to habit number 4, avoiding conflict at all costs. Who has done this? I know I remember so many times when I've done this when I was growing up. And if your heart is racing at the thought of confrontation, it's because your inner child still thinks that conflict is equivalent to danger. And so what do you do? The next time your tita asks, "Kailan ka mag-aasawa? When are you getting married?" You can answer with lambing, "Tita, love that you care about me, pero I feel pressured when you ask me that. So can we just celebrate each other's wins?" So if you're worried that that's being bastos, right? Or rude, well, girl, it's not. Honesty is love, and pretending is distance. And real talk, honesty is the highest form of respeto or respect. You ready for number 5? It's overachieving and perfectionism. Ooh, this perfectionism. I am this growing up. I wanted everything to be perfect. But perfectionism is the little child inside still asking, "Am I good enough?" So if you were going to ask me, then what do I do? Well, maybe before bedtime tonight, you can whisper, "I see my effort and I don't need to be perfect to be loved." And then you can DM a close friend and say, "Gosh, girl, like today was rough, pero I am so proud that I survived." So if you want to start small on this, you can also download Pagbabalik Loob. This is the 5 sacred steps to begin Filipino inner child healing. If you are not familiar with inner child, the link is going to be in the description. Let us go to habit number 6, and that is being the family therapist or ate ng bayan. Raise your hand if you are the ate who carries everyone's trauma. I actually have an older brother, but I am the ate all throughout. I had a younger sister who passed away when she was younger, but I was also the ate to a lot of like younger cousins. So if you're the ate who carries everyone's trauma, this one will sting because that role probably started when you had to hold the family together. And in the barangay life, older siblings cared for the younger ones, but care was shared. Everyone belonged to the whole. So the next time a kapatid calls or a sibling calls you when you're drained, try, "I hear you and I know that this is important, but right now medyo pagod ako, I'm exhausted. Let's talk tomorrow when I can fully listen to you." And no, girlfriend, that is not selfish. Kapwa is reciprocity. Protecting your energy protects your family. And inside the Helam Collective, we practice this together. I'll tell you more about it in a little bit. Habit number 7, minimizing your own pain. If your default is "okay lang ako, I'm fine," when you are really not, that is your inner child silencing herself. Our ancestors didn't minimize pain, they honored it with ritual. They cried, they chanted, created poetry together. Pain was never carried alone. And the next time someone asks, try, "I'm medyo tired, but I'm surviving. Thanks for asking." Small honesty helps your inner child feel seen. So, why does inner child healing matters in this? Because the inner child is the part of us that holds all the old wounds. And if we don't heal, it keeps running our lives through overwork, people pleasing, perfectionism, or silence. Healing means listening to that child and offering compassion and creating safety we may have never received. So, inside the Helam Collective, one Filipina nurse realized her double shifts came from a little girl who only felt loved when she was being helpful. By comforting that inner child and settling into gentle boundaries, she reclaimed rest and showed her kids that love isn't only sacrifice, it's also in our connection. And that's the ripple. When one person heals, diba, the whole family breathes easier. So, if you're asking what is the Helam Collective, well, this is the membership of us here in the Brown Psych. We're all Filipinos from across the world. And yes, we have members from here in the US. We also have some from the Philippines and the UK, Australia, all parts of the Philippines. And it really warms my heart that we have a global audience in the Helam Collective. But we come together weekly, and we do different activities like we have the Kapwa Connect. We also have creative writing workshops and other cultural workshops. Like this coming November, we're going to have like an art workshop that is centered on our heritage. And then in December, we're going to have like a Bayan writing class. And then we also have like other inner child healing workshops. And we do this weekly to tend to our inner child so we do not go back into the old patterns. And by the way, if you're interested, I forgot to mention that the description for the Helam Collective, if you want to join us, is going to be in the description below. So, those 7 habits: overworking, always saying yes, numbing, avoiding conflict, perfectionism, being the ate ng bayan, and saying okay lang ako even when you're not, have deep, deep roots. Some come from trauma, some from ancestral wisdom. The point isn't to erase our Filipino values again, just making sure that you understand that, but it's to balance them. Heal the wounded child, honor kapwa, and live with authenticity and joy. And honestly, when I think of these habits, I remember my own story, especially being the ate of the family. And I thought carrying everything was love, but later I learned the real love includes me, includes reciprocity. That's why I created the Healing Collective. Again, this is where Filipinos heal together through inner child healing, ancestral wisdom, and Kapwa psychology. And inside, you don't have to explain your cultural context because everyone just gets it. And if this video helped you see which habits are trauma responses, your next step is to watch this really amazing boundary video that I prepared for you. And that video will really give you the tools to say no with love. Again, this is Dr. Nette signing out. Maraming salamat and reminding you that our healing is our resistance. I'll see you in the next one.